Whoosh! A deafening sound of wind tearing through the sky filled the air as thousands of light shadows streaked across the heavens. Each shadow was surrounded by surging spiritual energy, creating a spectacular sight. Roar! Beyond Bone Mountain, countless white apes sensed the danger and immediately began to howl, their cries filled with bloodthirsty rage. The two massive forces quickly closed the distance, and without hesitation, they clashed head-on. A violent surge of spiritual energy erupted across the sky, wreaking havoc in its wake. Spiritual energy lashed across the battlefield, constantly slicing through the white apes. But with their overwhelming numbers, they kept charging forward, forcing many of the strong attackers assaulting Bone Mountain to sustain casualties. This area had essentially turned into a meat grinder, the smell of blood filling the air. Though the white apes outnumbered their opponents, their low intelligence began to show. As the young, strong cultivators coordinated their efforts, the apes' advantage started to wane, and they were slowly being pushed back. Boom! Chen swung the great Sumu demon pillar in his hand, creating an afterimage as it shattered several white apes that had closed in. He narrowed his eyes, gazing at Bone Mountain, which remained partially hidden behind a sea of white apes. With the relentless assault from the cultivators, the white ape's defense was slowly being torn apart. Chen glanced sideways, noticing that Cai Xiao had disappeared the moment the battle began. However, Chen had no worries. The girl's strength far exceeded expectations, and in this Dragon Phoenix heaven, very few could harm her. It should be about time. Chen looked at the chaotic sky. His black eyes slowly sharpened, and in the next instant, his figure vanished, only for space to distort several hundred meters away as a dragon-shaped silhouette flashed out, heading straight through the ranks of white apes toward Bone Mountain. As Chen moved through the white apes and closed in on Bone Mountain, spiritual energy fluctuations suddenly erupted from other directions. Dozens of light shadows employed various techniques to break through the apes' defenses. These individuals were all extremely powerful, and it was clear they had been waiting for this moment, just like Cai Xiao had said before. It wasn't just Chen who planned to take advantage of the situation. However, Chen paid no attention to those who were also hoping to fish in troubled waters. After passing through the white ape army, Bone Mountain appeared directly in front of him. Without hesitation, he charged in and turned into a streak of light, speeding toward the mountaintop like lightning. Though Chen was moving at full speed, his body remained tense, his internal spiritual energy circulating. He knew that reaching the Dragon Phoenix pool wouldn't be as easy as it seemed. Boom! Just as Chen remained on high alert, the white, skeletal earth before him cracked open with massive fissures. From the ground, a gigantic claw covered in scales shot out, accompanied by a fierce gust of wind, heading straight for Chen. Chen's eyes narrowed, and he swung the great Xun'er demon pillar with immense spiritual power, clashing directly with the enormous claw. Boom! The violent surge of spiritual energy exploded like a storm, cracking the skeletal earth and sending Chen back several steps. Suspended in midair, Chen furrowed his brow as he gazed forward. Beneath the broken earth, a faintly red light pillar shot up into the sky. Slowly, within the pillar, a massive beast began to materialize. The creature resembled the white apes, but was entirely crimson in color and appeared far more menacing. Its body was covered in scales that gleamed coldly under the sunlight. This was a magical ape with the bloodline of a true dragon. The violent spiritual energy radiating from it made Chen's heart skip a beat. Even a fourth-grade Supreme would find it difficult to handle this monstrous beast. Clearly, this was one of the dangerous spiritual fluctuations Chen had sensed earlier. Roar! The beast's blood-red eyes locked onto Chen with murderous intent. Drool dripped from its savage mouth as it roared, swinging its long arms. The speed of the demonic ape was astonishing. The massive bone staff transformed into a series of overwhelming afterimages, relentlessly sweeping toward Chen. Wherever the staff passed, even the space itself seemed to distort. Behind Chen, the space twisted, and the Supreme Sea flickered into view, while vast spiritual energy surged. The great Xun'er demon pillar also howled into action. Bang! 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 Countless staff and pillar shadows roared as they collided with lightning speed. The resulting spiritual energy storm nearly ravaged the entire area. As Chen clashed with the demonic ape, violent tremors echoed from other directions of Bone Mountain. Spiritual energy fluctuations shot up to the heavens, clearly indicating that other powerful cultivators who had entered Bone Mountain were being blocked by formidable beasts. Boom! Visible shockwaves of spiritual energy erupted, and both Chen and the demonic ape were blasted backward. Chen frowned as he stared at the roaring demonic ape. Due to its low intelligence, the demonic ape acted recklessly, charging fearlessly. Its wild assault was so ferocious that even Chen found it a bit alarming. If a third Great Supreme had faced it, they likely would have been smashed into meat paste by the ape's erratic strikes. Despite this, Chen was still very much troubled by the ape's relentless attacks. He didn't want to waste too much energy on such a mindless beast. Clang! The great Xun'er demon pillar once again clashed head-on with the bone staff. Chen leaped into the air, his eyes cold as he gazed at the roaring demonic ape. His pupils quickly darkened, resembling swirling black holes. Boom! Boom! Piercing thunderous sounds suddenly erupted from deep within the demonic ape's mind. As the thunder rang out, the ape's massive body instantly froze. Its uncontrollable, raging spiritual energy caused its body to convulse. The netherworld heart demon lightning was clearly effective against this powerful beast with low intelligence but immense strength. However, the demonic ape wasn't an easy target. It suddenly howled to the sky, pounding its chest with its fists. The sound was like the beating of drums, reverberating inside its body, gradually suppressing the thunder. Swish! While the demonic ape was distracted with suppressing the thunder, Chen struck like lightning. In the blink of an eye, he appeared above the ape. His fingers curled, and a flash of lightning transformed into a spiritual energy spear, which shot through the ape's eye with pinpoint accuracy. Boom! The demonic ape's eye exploded, blood splattering everywhere, and half of its face was blasted apart. Roar! The intense pain caused the demonic ape to roar in rage. Before it could launch another frenzied attack, the great Xun'er demon pillar swung down mercilessly, smashing into its iron-like skull. This time, Chen gave his all. The wind from the great Xun'er demon pillar even tore through the very fabric of space. Though the demonic ape's skull was as hard as iron, in that instant, it shattered like a watermelon with a thunderous crash. Boom! The giant body of the demonic ape collapsed to the ground, shaking the earth beneath it. Chen, holding the great Xun'er demon pillar, slowly descended. Scalding blood poured down the pillar as he looked at the lifeless demonic ape and let out a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the netherworld heart demon lightning had caught the ape off guard. Otherwise, dealing with it would have been quite troublesome. He lifted his gaze toward other directions of Bone Mountain, where intense spiritual energy fluctuations surged, indicating fierce battles taking place. Chen's eyes flashed, and he grabbed the demonic ape's corpse, quickly darting toward the dragon phoenix pool at the mountain's peak. The journey was smooth sailing for him, as it seemed that the powerful beasts within Bone Mountain had been lured away by other cultivators, leaving him unimpeded. In just a few minutes, Chen soared past the clouds enveloping the mountaintop, landing lightly, and emerged from the mist onto Bone Mountain's peak. Hovering in midair, he looked ahead, his gaze sharpening. Before him, the mountain was littered with bones. In the very center, there were two enormous skeletal remains. These bones were as massive as mountain-sized rocks. Clearly belonging to different owners, both sets of remains exuded a terrifying aura. Two massive ancient skeletal remains were connected together, forming a bone pool approximately 100 zhang in size. Inside the pool, ancient light patterns were etched, and as the light flickered, it seemed as if it possessed a powerful life force, constantly breathing. An indescribable and strange power rippled within the empty bone pool. Clearly, this bone pool was the goal for all the powerful beings entering the Dragon Phoenix Heaven, the Dragon Phoenix Pool. Chen's eyes burned with intensity as he gazed at the bone pool, but just as he was about to step forward, his expression suddenly changed. From three other directions, two exceptionally powerful spiritual energies soared into the sky. These two formidable spiritual forces shot toward the mountain peak, one to the left and the other to the right, closing in on Mu Chun, subtly trapping him between them with an evident intent to target him. When Mu Chun sensed the powerful spiritual force from one of them, his expression turned cold, for the energy fluctuation was no stranger to him. Whoosh! At the peak of the mountain, a figure suddenly appeared in a flash of light. It was Liu Yan, dressed in a white robe. He looked at Mu Chun indifferently, then casually tossed aside the massive corpse of an exotic beast from his hand. I told you, you can't escape my grasp. Liu Yan lightly clapped his hands, his tone nonchalant, filled with the playful mockery of a cat toying with a mouse. Liu Yan hovered in midair, a giant beast's corpse lying beneath him, blood flowing and the stench of death spreading. He stared down at Mu Chun, his gaze as indifferent as if looking at an insignificant ant beneath him. Mu Chun also looked at Liu Yan, furrowing his brows. He hadn't expected to run into this guy right at the first stop. Was this a coincidence? Of course, it's not a coincidence. Liu Yan seemed to have read Mu Chun's thoughts, offering a slight smile. When we fought at the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, I left a special spiritual mark on you, so I can roughly sense your location. Mu Chun froze, his expression darkening slightly. Suddenly, violet flames erupted around him, and a subtle, peculiar fluctuation emanated from his hair. Whoosh! The violet flames passed over, and a single hair from Mu Chun turned to ash, causing the strange fluctuation to completely disappear. Mu Chun's eyes turned icy as he fixed his gaze on Liu Yan. He hadn't expected that even he, usually so cautious, would fall victim to this guy's hidden trick. He hadn't felt a thing. It seemed Liu Yan truly had some unique methods. But fortunately, he had resolved this potential threat in advance. Otherwise, when he and Cai Xiao went to search for the other Dragon Phoenix pools, this guy might have sensed their presence, potentially causing trouble for their plans. Looks like you're confident you can handle me? Mu Chun stared at Liu Yan and asked. Don't worry, I won't underestimate you. So, to make sure you stay in the Dragon Phoenix heaven forever, I even humbled myself to invite some help. Liu Yan smiled and said, then casually clapped his hands. Boom! As his clap echoed, a beam of spiritual energy shot up to the peak of the White Bone Mountain. When the light faded, a figure appeared. This person had long blood-red hair and snake-like pupils that glowed crimson, exuding an aura of ferocity. The moment the red-haired man appeared, a strong scent of blood filled the air above the mountain peak. Mu Chun stared at him, his eyes narrowing involuntarily. From the man's aura, he could sense a dangerous fluctuation. This guy was not an ordinary person. For a third Great Supreme, Liu Yan, you're willing to spend your favor to invite me here. You've become so cautious, haven't you? The red-haired man's snake-like eyes locked on Mu Chun, and a strange, hissing laugh escaped his lips. Even when hunting rabbits, a lion uses all its strength. I like to leave nothing to chance. Liu Yan smiled at Mu Chun and said, he is Cai Xiao from the Serpent God Temple, ranked 9th on the Dragon Phoenix record. 2 of the top 10 Dragon Phoenix record participants have come to send you on your way. I think that means I really value you. Cai Xiao from the Serpent God Temple. Mu Chun's heart skipped a beat as he frowned at the red-haired man. No wonder the bloodthirsty aura was so strong. This was the infamous figure who had massacred over 100 cities and was notorious for his cruelty. This man's appearance had clearly caught Mu Chun off guard. He hadn't expected Liu Yan, even when holding such a huge advantage, to still call in backup. It truly is my honor. Mu Chun smiled slightly as he looked at the 2 men flanking him, their handsome faces framed by the awkward situation. His expression was one of surprise, but there was no fear or panic as Liu Yan had expected. It seems you still haven't realized the outcome awaiting you. Liu Yan's expression became colder as he did not see the fear he anticipated from Mu Chun. However, before he could finish speaking, his pupils suddenly contracted. He noticed, at the spot where Mu Chun had thrown the demonic ape's corpse, a slender figure had appeared out of nowhere. The girl possessed a bewitching beauty, with her dark hair flowing in the wind. She sat calmly atop the demonic ape's corpse, one hand resting on her pale chin. Her beautiful eyes, tinged with a hint of laziness, gazed at them. Both Liu Yan and Cai Xiao's eyes flickered slightly, as neither had noticed how the girl had appeared, raising a sense of alertness in both of them. Sorry, I have help too. Mu Chun smiled gently at Liu Yan. Liu Yan's cold gaze locked on Mu Chen before he glanced at Cai Xiao. Back in the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, he hadn't sensed anything particularly extraordinary about her, but when she appeared just now, he felt a genuine sense of danger. That feeling of danger was not something he could ignore. His cautious nature told him it couldn't be a mere illusion. This was a mindset he had relied upon for many years, allowing him to repeatedly defeat his enemies, always thinking of the worst possible outcome. Just like now, when dealing with Mu Chen, even though his strength was enough to suppress Mu Chen, he still brought along a heavyweight ally to eliminate any unpredictable factors. But he hadn't expected that, despite his meticulous preparations, things would still slip out of his control. "Miss, this is a personal matter between him and me. I hope you'll refrain from interfering, and my Xiantian Palace will remember this favor." Liu Yan took a deep breath, cupping his fists in a respectful gesture. His tone was unexpectedly polite. However, when Cai Xiao heard this, she couldn't help but curl her lips in a half-smile. Is the favor of Xiantian Palace really that significant? Liu Yan's eyes darkened. Cai Xiao ignored Liu Yan and turned her face towards Mu Chen. "What do you plan to do? Could you help me block that big snake?" Mu Chen pointed towards Qi Shue's position and smiled. With his current strength, if Qi Shue and Liu Yan, both of whom were in the top 10 of the Dragon Phoenix record, teamed up against him, he probably wouldn't stand much of a chance. Though he was confident, he was not arrogant. After all, he was only at the 3rd grade Supreme stage, while both Liu Yan and Qi Shue were genuine 4th grade Supremes. "Not thinking of letting me handle everything and solve it all." Cai Xiao tilted her head and smiled. "Some things I have to solve myself, though I wouldn't mind eating soft rice, especially if it's such a beautiful bowl of it." Mu Chen chuckled. "Quite a bit of pride you have. Fine, then I'll take care of that big snake." Cai Xiao teasingly raised her white, jade-like thumb, her bright eyes flashing with admiration. She appreciated the confidence Mu Chen conveyed with his words, a confidence that didn't stem from external factors, nor from her presence, but from his own inner strength. A 3rd grade Supreme, calmly facing a 4th grade Supreme like Liu Yan, and still confident. This kind of spirit was something few could possess. Big words. Liu Yan sneered coldly, a hint of frost in his eyes. Though he was wary of the mysterious Cai Xiao, he had no such feeling towards Mu Chen. Originally, he had been struggling with how to deal with the elusive Cai Xiao, but to his surprise, Mu Chen, the fool, had walked right into his hands. On the other side of the sky, Qi Shue's scarlet snake pupils locked onto Cai Xiao. His true form, the crimson blood divine python, possessed the bloodline of a divine beast, making him more vicious than other opponents at the same level. But as he stared at the petite Cai Xiao, he felt a coldness seep through his blood. Qi Shue's expression fluctuated, and finally, the savage malice in his bones surged. He grinned cruelly at Cai Xiao, his gleaming white teeth radiating a terrifying chill. "Little girl, you're young, but your words are bold. Let's see how you endure when I catch you." Qi Shue's eyes kept scanning Cai Xiao's delicate and alluring figure as he spoke, a lustful gleam flickering in his eyes. The bloodline of his family was already inclined towards indulgence, and seeing Cai Xiao's peerless beauty, if not for a slight wariness of her mysterious aura, he would have already been unable to resist taking advantage of her. However, in response to his filthy words, Cai Xiao only smiled faintly, a smile that only stirred Qi Shue's desires further, his eyes burning with a cruel fire. This broken snake's bloodline has some use. Though it's not as good as true dragon essence blood, it should still be a nice change for little Cai. Cai Xiao flashed a charming smile at Mu Chen, then lightly tapped her jade-like bare foot on the ground. Her slender form instantly appeared in front of Qi Shue. She raised her long, jade fingers and pointed at him in midair. As her finger descended, the space seemed to ripple. At that moment, Qi Shue's skin tightened, and he immediately retreated, leaving behind afterimages in the air. Swoosh. However, no matter how fast he was, he couldn't match Cai Xiao's speed. As the space rippled, the afterimages shattered instantly, and one of them shot out in a disheveled manner. Qi Shue's hand pressed against his shoulder, where a blood hole had appeared, blood gushing out. All his defenses had proven completely ineffective. Moreover, no matter how he used spiritual energy to stop the bleeding, he couldn't control the flow. It seemed like some mysterious force was eroding his spiritual energy at the wound. Impossible. Cai Xiao's face was filled with shock and disbelief. He couldn't fathom that after just one strike, he had been injured by this young, unbelievably beautiful girl standing before him. As his eyes widened with shock, Cai Xiao stepped through the air towards him, her bare feet lightly treading as she approached. However, this time, the lasciviousness in Cai Xiao's eyes was completely replaced by pure terror. Only now did he realize what a terrifying opponent he had encountered. While Cai Xiao was still reeling from the shock, Chen moved swiftly, appearing before Liu Yan. In his hand, the great Xun'er demon pillar slowly pointed at Liu Yan. A smile flickered on his handsome face. Liu Yan, young hall master, it's your turn. The massive figure of Liu Yan stood like a fire god, flames of different colors burning across his body. The terrifying heat from him made the very air burn, and the atmosphere itself began to feel scorching, with the distinct scent of impending combustion. Chen narrowed his eyes, observing the fiery giant before him. His expression remained calm, though even in his heart-demon state, he could sense a dangerous fluctuation emanating from Liu Yan's fiery form. The 10,000 flame Dharmakaya truly lives up to its name. Outside Bone Mountain, several powerful figures watched with astonished expressions, unable to suppress their admiration. The 10,000 flame Dharmakaya was one of the top-tier supreme Dharmakayas, ranking quite highly among the 99 different kinds, and the difficulty of cultivating it was exceptionally high. Just gathering the numerous strange flames required immense financial resources. Even for ordinary strong practitioners, successfully cultivating this Dharmakaya would be extremely difficult. Thankfully, Liu Yan was the young hall master of Xin'er Palace, or he might never have been able to cultivate the 10,000 flame Dharmakaya. Flames surged at the top of Liu Yan's head, and he emerged from within the fiery vortex. His gaze was dark as he stared at Chen, cold, killing intent flickering in his eyes. Clearly, he had not expected to be forced into unleashing his supreme Dharmakaya so early. You sly little bastard. Liu Yan gritted his teeth, his eyes filled with hatred. If Chen hadn't caught him off guard with Netherworld Heart Demon Lightning earlier, he wouldn't have exposed any weaknesses, falling behind step by step, and eventually being forced to activate his supreme Dharmakaya for defense. Though angered, Liu Yan inwardly heightened his caution, and his previous underestimation of Chen was now completely retracted. Taking a deep breath, Liu Yan stood on top of the flames swirling on his Dharmakaya's crown. His anger gradually faded, and his expression returned to indifference. Chen observed the scene, his brow furrowing slightly. With Liu Yan now calm, he wouldn't be showing the same weaknesses as before. Furthermore, Liu Yan would certainly have prepared defenses against the Netherworld Heart Demon Lightning, so gaining an advantage like he did earlier would be far more difficult now. If you want to defeat me, show me your true abilities. Liu Yan's cold, piercing gaze locked onto Chen. Without a second thought, he brought his hands together, and instantly, a different colored blaze erupted across the massive form of his heavenly flame Dharmakaya. With his hands forming seals, countless flames surged out and transformed into a fiery vermilion bird in the sky. The bird's flames were dazzling, each cluster of fire glowing in different hues, swirling and twirling in a breathtaking display. Spirit of 10,000 flames. Liu Yan murmured, and the vibrant vermilion bird flapped its wings, darting through the air. The flapping wings left behind a trail of stunning fire, yet beneath its beauty, it carried a deadly threat. The firebird expanded rapidly in Chen's eyes. Without hesitation, Chen formed his own seals. A brilliant golden light burst forth, engulfing the sky, and a golden figure stood tall amidst the chaos. As the golden figure appeared, a blazing golden sun manifested at its brow, slowly blooming, and a giant golden palm reached out, radiating gilded light, as if forged from pure gold. The palm collided fiercely with the flaming vermilion bird. Boom! The vibrant flames exploded like fireworks, distorting the space from the powerful collision. The shockwave of spiritual energy sent ripples through the surroundings, causing the powerful figures near Bone Mountain to retreat hastily, fearful of being caught in the blast. Is this the supreme Dharmakaya that kid is cultivating? Liu Yan's eyes narrowed as he stared at the golden figure that resembled a colossal golden Buddha. His expression shifted slightly, sensing a strange pressure emanating from the figure. He was stunned by the intensity of the pressure. His own 10,000 Flames Dharmakaya was ranked 69th on the list of the 99th ranked Dharmakayas, a very respectable position. Yet now, Chen's Supreme Dharmakaya was actually causing his 10,000 Flames Dharmakaya to feel this pressure? Could it be one of the top 30 ranked Dharmakayas? Liu Yan focused on the massive golden figure with a sun-like aura above its head, unable to recognize it. He had never seen anything like this in the rankings of the 99th ranked Supreme Dharmakayas. Could it be an unranked mysterious Dharmakaya? Liu Yan frowned, but shook his head in frustration, unable to find an answer. Even if Chen's Supreme Dharmakaya was mysterious, every Supreme Dharmakaya required the support of personal strength. Liu Yan didn't believe that, with his 4th grade supreme strength and control over the 10,000 Flames Dharmakaya, he couldn't defeat someone at the 3rd grade supreme level. Boom. Just as he sneered, the golden light surged forward, with the great sun indestructible body grabbing the great Xun'er demon pillar. The originally dark pillar transformed into one of pure gold, sweeping through the sky and tearing it apart. Humph. Seeing Chen daring to take the initiative, Liu Yan couldn't help but snort. The 10,000 Flames Dharmakaya clenched its fists, flames swirling, transforming into a massive fire spear. The spear trembled and turned into countless fiery lances, sweeping across the sky. Bang! Bang! The two colossal beings clashed in the air, the impact shaking the heavens and earth. Even the peak of Bone Mountain cracked under the pressure, and the unleashed spiritual energy swept across the area like a hurricane. No one within a radius of 10,000 meters dared to enter. The surrounding powerful figures were dumbfounded, watching the battle unfold. It was hard to believe that Chen, someone almost unknown, could stand toe-to-toe with the famous Liu Yan. Among the younger generation of the Northern Domain, Liu Yan was a well-known figure, ranking 4th on the Dragon Phoenix record. Chen, though from the great Luo Heaven Domain, had a minimal reputation compared to someone like Liu Yan. But now, this previously unknown youth was battling Liu Yan with such intensity. Though he hadn't gained the upper hand, simply holding his own to this degree was already impressive. Boom. The golden pillar collided once again with the fire spear. The point of impact shattered the space, sending shockwaves tearing through the air. The two giant figures were knocked back, but Liu Yan still had the upper hand. The power possessed by Chen's Supreme Dharmakaya exceeded his expectations. This guy's Supreme Dharmakaya is no joke. Liu Yan's gaze shifted, and then, with a cold glint in his eyes, he glanced at Chen. He suddenly seated himself at the crown of the heavenly flame Dharma body and swiftly formed a series of dazzling hand seals. Roar! As Liu Yan's hand seals changed, the flames surrounding the 10,000 Flame Dharmakaya suddenly blazed up. Flames of different colors rapidly surged, finally gathering above Liu Yan's head. An indescribable heat spread through the air. Some of the powerful onlookers in the distance slightly changed their expressions. They felt that their spiritual energy seemed to be burning within their bodies, showing signs of being on the verge of combustion. Their faces changed, and they quickly retreated again. They could sense that Liu Yan was becoming increasingly impatient. Chen's entanglement had made him lose his composure. He was ready to end this battle. Chen raised his head, his black eyes reflecting the brilliant flames. His expression gradually became serious. No matter what this Supreme Dharmakaya of yours is, I will turn it to ash. Liu Yan grinned menacingly at Chen, clapping his hands suddenly. At once, countless brilliant flames in the sky merged together, swirling in a blazing eruption that formed a massive furnace thousands of feet tall. The furnace was dazzling, and a terrifying wave of energy radiated from it. Liu Yan fixed his cold stare on Chen, and with a flick of his sleeve, the huge furnace vanished into thin air. The moment the furnace disappeared, Chen felt the surrounding world grow darker. Then, he realized it wasn't the sky dimming. It was the furnace that had enveloped him. Liu Yan looked at Chen, trapped inside the furnace along with the great sun indestructible body, a savage grin appearing on his face. He clasped his hands together, and a chilling shout suddenly echoed through the heavens and earth. Myriad flames crucible, blazing heaven feathers. Boom. As Liu Yan's voice fell, flames of different colors erupted from within the furnace. In the blink of an eye, they transformed into a magnificent sea of fire. In that fiery sea, the flames rose and converged into a massive vortex. The brilliant flames merged into tiny strands of fire, which were the essence of these rare flames. Even a tiny strand could incinerate an entire mountain. These strands of flame fused together and finally formed a colorful feather, about 10 feet long. The feather was covered with different flame patterns, gently floating in the air. Though it appeared serene, the terrifying temperature radiating from it caused the space around it to crack, with multiple fractures. The power contained within this small feather was so immense that even Chen, who was in the heart demon state, felt his body tighten as he sensed the deadly danger. This Liu Yan was truly a formidable opponent. Now, watch closely as I turn your supreme Dharmakaya to ashes. Liu Yan's smile grew even more sinister. The dazzling sea of fire spread throughout the furnace, its undulating flames raising the temperature to a terrifying degree. At that temperature, had Chen not entered the heart demon state, even his spiritual energy would have been uncontrollable. However, Chen was not focused on the temperature around him. All his attention was drawn to the colorful fire feather slowly rising from the sea of flames. The feather, about 10 feet in length, was a fusion of colors, appearing magnificently beautiful. But beneath that beauty, Chen sensed the threat of imminent death. Clearly, Liu Yan had been forced to unleash his true killing move. This small fire feather must possess enough power to slay even a 4th-grade supreme. The great sun indestructible body's massive form emitted dazzling golden light, protecting against the terrifying heat. Chen stood atop its head, his deep black eyes flickering. The attack from Liu Yan this time was so overwhelming that it caught Chen completely off guard. Thoughts flashed through his mind, but he soon realized that even with the power of the great sun indestructible body, he was unable to withstand it. Chen furrowed his brow slightly. Then he sat cross-legged inside the great sun indestructible body. Golden light surged, and his body quickly sank into the great sun indestructible body. Then with a flick of his sleeve, a massive torrent of spiritual energy surged forth. Within that torrent, pure and intense fluctuations of spiritual energy rippled, and the entire stream was made up of supreme spiritual liquid. Chen's eyes locked onto the stream, and the supreme spiritual liquid within it numbered a staggering 200,000. Every bit of supreme spiritual liquid that Mandala had given him was now summoned for this moment. It should be enough, Chen muttered. Even though he was in the heart demon state, Chen couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth slightly. To empty his entire reserves and take out 200,000 supreme spiritual liquid at once was, after all, extremely painful. But at a time like this, there was no room for hesitation. A glimmer of light flickered in Chen's black eyes. He suddenly formed a hand seal, and immediately, a golden light blossomed from the chest of the great sun indestructible body. Deep within the golden light, a golden seed seemed to be forming. Chen flicked his finger, and the torrent of 200,000 supreme spiritual liquid immediately roared out, rushing directly toward the source of the golden light. Buzz, buzz. Within the golden light, the golden seed acted like an endless abyss, mercilessly devouring all of the incoming supreme spiritual liquid. As the spiritual energy stream continued to pour in, the golden seed began to glow brighter and brighter, like a blazing sun on the verge of breaking free from its shell. Meanwhile, hidden within the great sun indestructible body, outside in the world, the resplendent fire feathers had been refined to their peak. Outside the furnace, Liu Yan watched this scene, his tense body slowly relaxing. A cold smile appeared on his lips. You think you can escape by hiding within that supreme Dharmakaya? Liu Yan mocked, then extended a long finger, gently pointing into the air. Beyond Bone Mountain, those watching this scene couldn't help but shrink their pupils. Clearly, they too sensed the terrifying power brewing inside the furnace. Under such a force, even a 4th-grade supreme might find it impossible to escape. To force Liu Yan to use his supreme divine ability, Chen is no simple character. But this should be the end for him. A powerful warrior couldn't help but speak up. It seemed they were all aware of how terrifying Liu Yan's attack was. It was rumored that in recent years, even fourth-grade Supremes had been reduced to ashes by Liu Yan's strikes. Many nodded in agreement, some lamenting the situation. Chen was still young and a brilliant talent. If given a few more years of cultivation, he could have become a true leader among the younger generation of the Northern Domain. By then, even facing Feng Yi, ranked first in the Dragon Phoenix record, he might have had the strength to challenge him. But sadly, in this world, geniuses are often the ones who fall the quickest. Buzz. As the powerful warriors lamented the upcoming outcome, the massive furnace in the sky emitted a deep humming sound. The intense heat radiating from it caused the surrounding space to twist, nearly shattering. Everyone could see that the magnificent fire feathers were now gently sweeping through the air, rushing toward the supreme Dharmakaya, glowing with dazzling golden light. Its speed continued to increase, until, in the end, it seemed to transform into a brilliant flaming meteor. As it passed, the space began to shatter, and cracks in the fabric of space spread rapidly, visible to the naked eye. The golden light on the great sun indestructible body dimmed rapidly, and even the gilded body began to show signs of melting. The magnificent fire meteor rapidly approached. However, just as the fire meteor was about to strike, Chen's tightly closed eyes, hidden within the great sun indestructible body, slowly opened. Crack! The moment his eyes opened, the golden seed deep within the chest of the great sun indestructible body cracked, its surface showing tiny fractures. Hiss hiss. Brilliant golden light shot out from the cracks, and the entire seed exploded. A golden blazing sun slowly rose from the chest of the great sun indestructible body. At the same time, another golden blazing sun appeared at the center of its brow, responding to the first one in the distance. The two golden suns floated, their dazzling golden light spreading out, instantly halting the melting of the great sun indestructible body. Moreover, the gilded radiance began to deepen, and a faint trace of purple light seemed to have emerged within it. Outside, Liu Yan, who had been watching the cauldron intently, suddenly narrowed his eyes. He had clearly noticed the change in the great sun indestructible body. Ready to fight to the death? Liu Yan sneered, clearly seeing the change in the great sun indestructible body as a final burst of light before it fell. With his attack, no matter what means Chen had, he would inevitably meet his end. Inside the cauldron, Chen's figure reappeared above the great sun indestructible body's head. He looked up at the roaring meteor of flames, feeling the destructive heat that seemed to even overwhelm this space. However, this time, Chen's face showed no signs of surprise. His hands slowly came together, and then he formed a seal. A soft muttering sound escaped from his lips. Nine Yang Divine Art, Celestial Sun, Golden Seal. At that moment, the giant hand of the great sun indestructible body suddenly formed a seal, and dazzling golden light gathered, condensing into a golden light seal beneath its palm. This golden seal seemed to represent the intersection of two golden suns, with mysterious and ancient patterns etched inside, as if they were the very markings formed when the sun was first born in the primordial era. The Celestial Sun Golden Seal was a technique derived from the Nine Yang Divine Art, but its use required the power of dual yang. Previously, Chen had not been able to achieve this, but now, with his Nine Yang Divine Art refined further, he was finally able to use it. Boom! The golden seal formed in the palm of the great sun indestructible body exploded forth with a roaring wind, radiating dazzling golden light, and collided heavily with the flaming meteor without hesitation. In that instant of impact, the sound of the world seemed to vanish completely. However, this silence lasted only for a brief moment, and then everyone saw the blinding golden light, shooting out from the cauldron like a flood of light, overwhelming the entire sky and earth. The world seemed to be drenched in golden light. An indescribable shockwave swept out furiously, and the cauldron shook violently, as if it could not withstand the terrifying force it was under. Clang! Clang! The deafening sound rang out repeatedly, and then, many powerful individuals suddenly squinted their eyes as they saw cracks appearing on the surface of the cauldron. The cauldron can't take it anymore. Someone exclaimed in horror, immediately retreating instinctively. Boom. Just as they were retreating, the cauldron finally exploded completely. The terrifying golden light, accompanied by brilliant flames, rampaged outward. The shockwave affected a radius of 1,000 miles. The powerful figures who had originally intended to retreat were struck directly, spitting blood and shooting backward, their bodies sent crashing into mountains, causing the mountains to collapse under the impact. In an instant, the world turned into chaos. The shockwave rampaged on for several minutes before gradually dissipating. In the ruins, several disheveled figures darted out, their eyes filled with horror as they looked towards the peak of Bone Mountain. They desperately wanted to know who had emerged victorious after such a terrifying clash. As their gazes fixed on the peak of Bone Mountain, their pupils suddenly contracted, and a collective gasp echoed in the air. There, above the mountain's peak, the two supreme Dharmakayas still stood opposed to each other, though now their massive bodies were nearly shattered. They were dimming, on the verge of dissipating, and the spiritual energy around their heads was at its lowest point. They exchanged a glance, their faces turning red, blood appearing at the corners of their mouths, only to wipe it away gently. Bang! The two supreme Dharmakayas finally reached their limits and exploded into nothingness.